In legacy media, reporting starts at the top. That's why they got this election wrong, and in this video, I will explain exactly what that means. The polls and legacy media analysis showed this was a neck-and-neck race that Kamala actually may have had a slight lead in. But if you watch RocaNews, you would know that's wrong, and that in many swing states, Trump was wildly popular.
I could tell you could trust him. He didn't, nobody owned him.
In this video, we'll show the difference between how legacy news does reporting and how RocaNews does reporting. Now, if you're wondering who I am to talk about this, I am Max. I'm one of the co-founders of RocaNews. Now, we started Roca in 2020 to make high quality, nonpartisan news accessible. Now we reach about 2 million people with that news every single day. This reporting has taken me around the world, but before this, I also did some work for big news, working as a writer and an editor for places like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and Foreign Policy. So having started Roca, I've seen both sides of the media aisle, and in this video, I'll tell you the difference in how we and they do reporting. I'll give you 3 reasons why. First is hiring. Legacy news outlets try to hire people who went to journalism school. Now, in the US, the gold standard for journalism school is Columbia University, an Ivy League school in Manhattan. But not anyone can go here or even afford to go here. Tuition for just the 9.5-month, 1-year master's degree program is $78,000. And because this is in Manhattan, the total cost of attending is over $110,000. So who attends? People who can afford to attend, which immediately makes it so most normal Americans don't ever have a shot to go work for a big news company. So you're eliminating that set of the population. Now let's go to reason 2, politics, which eliminates another set of the population. Schools like Columbia have nearly exclusively progressive faculties and students. And a lot of what they're teaching, it's not how to be a reporter, but how to advance certain social goals or use journalism for social ends. Now, reason 3 is class. You graduate from a place like Columbia, you get a job at a place like the New York Times, and you're surrounded by a lot of people who see the world the same way and have a similar upbringing. So what does that mean? Let's say you are told to go do reporting in Georgia on the election in Georgia. What do? You call up someone, say a lawyer or an activist or another journalist, to hear their perspective on it. But already their perspective is probably pretty similar to your perspective. And neither of those perspectives represents the way the typical person votes. So you call up that person, they tell you about the issues you need to look out for, and then they introduce you to some people who can tell you more about those issues, and you go a bit further down the rabbit hole. Eventually, after talking to all the people at the top, you work your way down and have some conversations with people at the bottom. This is starting from the top. It means you see the world through an elite lens. Oftentimes this is progressive, but it doesn't actually have to be. Now, this is how RocaNews is different. None of us went to journalism school, and we don't hire people who did. Instead, we look for people who have a sense of curiosity and truly just want to know the truth of what's happening in the world. So let's say we're going to Michigan to report on what's happening there. We do our research, we look at the map, we understand how it went in 2016, 2020. We talk to some people in the state to get an overall perspective. Then we buy a ticket there, we drive around the state and talk to as many people as we can to try to get a representative sample of how people will vote. It's truly that simple. Fly to the state, talk to some people there, and listen, and then convey what they have to say to your audience. And the fact is, if you talk to enough people, you will hear some elite perspectives. You'll hear both conservative and liberal perspectives, but you have to talk to enough in enough different places so that you get a sample of what people there actually think. And then you have to travel around enough of the states so you're not just getting one little tidbit like Detroit or Atlanta, but you're getting Georgia or Michigan altogether. Once you talk to enough people, for us, we always try to talk to at least 100 people if we want to generalize about a place. Then you share the findings with your audience. Now, if you want proof that this works, here it is. We visited 5 swing states in the run-up to this year's election, and in doing so, we had takeaways that other news outlets didn't. One was about minority voters. Trump has made major inroads with minorities. Is it going to go for Kamala or Trump?
Trump.
You think Trump? One was about the issues. People are angry at the country's elites for allegedly shipping their jobs overseas. And people repeatedly said that inflation, immigration, and crime are major problems. And a third takeaway was about enthusiasm surrounding Kamala Harris. A good number of people said they're going to vote for Kamala Harris, but they didn't really have a reason for why. Now, on election day, each of these was proven accurate. Per AP, Black Americans shifted from D+83 to D+68, a 15-point push toward Trump. Men under 30 went from D+15 to R+13, 28-point swing. And Harris lost ground with every single demographic group, except in some places, people over 65, which we also predicted. We also met a number of conservatives who voted for Trump before, but said they couldn't do so again after January 6th. These tended to be older voters. All of this led to our final prediction for the election. Final prediction, let's run through these points. Trump benefits from the current economic, immigration, and foreign policy situation. Simply put, people remember things as being better under him. That's helped Trump make inroads with minority voters, particularly in the working class.
I'm not going to say who I voted for, but I
I will say I do research. So a lot of people go to vote for Kamala because she's a black woman and stuff like that, which is fine. No problem with that.
And young voters who he's connected with through podcasts like Joe Rogan and Theo Von. At the same time, it seems that enthusiasm for Harris is low outside of liberals. But on the other hand, January 6th, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and Trump's voter fraud claims have turned off many could-be Trump voters.
As a lesser of two evils option, I think she's the obvious pick, and I think she's got a lot more and better going for her.
We think that all nets out to a slight advantage for Trump that will win him the more conservative swing states of Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. If he does take those 3 states, he'll need one more Rust Belt state to win it all. We find it hard to believe that Harris will sweep all 3 of those. If she doesn't, Trump wins, and to us, that looks like the most likely outcome. And if we had to pick, we'd say Pennsylvania is the most likely Rust Belt state to flip to Trump. Now, as Legacy News panics about how they got this so wrong and what they should do differently, it's really not that hard. Just take the RocaNews approach. If you want real news, please subscribe to the page. Now that the election's over, we'll be doing weekly deep dives and investigative reporting. Comment on what you would like to see us cover and different questions you have, and we will try to reply to as many as we can. Thank you for watching.